Hi guys, good evening and welcome back once again to the EdWord. I'm your host Eddie, where in tonight's video I'll be discussing what I thought of the much better episode of His Dark Materials, which we got earlier tonight on HBO. Much better in the sense of the super underwhelming, lackluster episode we got last week. Ugh, but wow, what an improvement this week's episode was. Before I begin, of course, please be warned, this is a spoiler-filled episode review, so if you're not caught up on His Dark Materials by this episode or the first two episodes of Season 2, you might not want to keep watching or listening because I will be discussing spoilers. So, you have been warned. That being said, let's dive right back into it. Another quick side note before I resume, you might hear some banging or drilling noises. My apartment managers are currently renovating the apartment down below me, so I do apologize for the noise. I hope you don't find it too distracting. Anyway, back to it. Huge improvement over last week's episode, and I mean huge improvement. We got far more interesting, more intense character and dialogue-driven scenes. Yorick Burnison is back. It was brief, but it was awesome. It's always a delight to see Yorick. No matter how much screen time he gets in an episode or a season, I always love seeing him. He looks so good. You know, it does not get any more fantasy based than an armored talking polar bear. So, that's pretty fucking awesome. I am sorry to see that the armored bears are not doing so well, and it looks like everybody else, they too are suffering from the fallout of Azrael opening up the doorway between worlds. It seems as though it's affected their home, like the mountains are melting, the seals have vanished, and now the armored bears are hungry. So if I were the people living in that village that Yorick was temporarily at, I would be pretty nervous. What I did like about that scene is they established there's still goodwill and mutual respect between the armored bears and the witches, or at least between Seraphina and Yorick, who are the leaders of their respective people. So at least there's that. I mean, I don't know if it outright means we'll get a big bear witch alliance and the eventual war with the Magisterium. That would be fucking awesome. I certainly hope so. But time will tell. So it was awesome seeing Yorick, as brief as it was. I also love the fact that Lyra finally, not really learned her lesson, but she finally learned or realized that there are consequences to your actions. And she did experience a few lessons last season, but this one was especially a big one. Like, she just kept on insisting on going back to that scholar, and then despite what Pan and the alethiometer warned her to do was not to go, she did it anyway, and look, now Carlo has it in his possession, and now he's basically making those two go on this mission to find some kind of object or item that he thinks is in the Tower of the World that they currently occupy. So yeah, huge improvement. I also liked the unexpected bonding between Mrs. Coulter and Lee, and it was great seeing those two characters meet and interact for the very first time, because you have one who's like a strong force for good, Lee, and the other one a strong force for evil, Mrs. Coulter. Although Mrs. Coulter did show us some did show us some vulnerability and humanity for the first time in a very long time, and I really liked seeing that because it adds a bit more layers to her character, that she's not totally evil incarnate, that maybe there is some mother naturing side of her that does care for Lyra's safety and well-being, which would partly explain why she let Lee loose. But I also love the fact that she realized she wasn't going to be able to break Lee physically or mentally because he's already been beaten and broken down so many times in the past by his abusive father. And it sounds like Mrs. Coulter had the exact same kind of father and parents that Lee did. So it's interesting to see an antagonist and a protagonist briefly bond over shared past trauma. It made both their characters a lot more interesting and added some tragic backstory as well, which was very sad to hear because I like Lee. He and Yorick are one of my favorite characters, and I did not like seeing Lee so badly bruised and beaten and I hated hearing about his tragic backstory. It was very sweet how both demons comforted their humans, Lee and Mrs. Coulter, when they were both in their time of need and needed emotional comfort. So I liked that. So, like I said, great episode, huge improvement over last week's episode. I really hope we see more episodes like this one. And with next week's episode, we will be at the halfway point because I believe there are 8 episodes, much like the first season. Yeah, I think so. So they've got us back on the right path, in my opinion, because this episode was just so much better than last week's underwhelming lackluster of an episode. What did you guys think, though? I want to hear your thoughts and your opinions down below in the comments section. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have an awesome rest of your night. His Dark Materials drops new episodes every Monday night on HBO. Thanks for watching, everybody, and of course, until next time, may the Force be with you.